A Dance of Heroes is a fictional scenario featuring factions like the faction of people who hate Zhuge Liang, or the faction of old men, the faction of people which are delicate, the faction of the Three Kingdoms' biggest losers, and a faction of Guan Yu simps. However, the reason I am playing this scenario, and I tend to stay away from the fictional scenarios as I quite like the historical flavour when I'm playing a campaign. However, what this faction has and enables you to do is to play the later period officers and not be from a position of overwhelming strength, particularly the Jin officers. If you want to use the sort of 220 year onward officers, especially the ones from Wei, you've only got the option of playing Wei, who are already in control of 2/3 of the map. However, in this faction we are given the opportunity to play as Sima Yi's faction, Deng Ai's faction, Chong Hui's factions, Sima Yan's faction, and Yang Hu's faction. So there are 5 Jin related factions in total, which then leads to the question of which Jin faction do I want to play. My goal is to primarily use the Jin period officers, so that leaves me with, I think, looking at the Jin province if I want to make the most of them, as the officers are all split up between different factions. So I've got Sima Yi, Chong Hui, and Deng Ai. Now you know from the video title and thumbnail I'm picking Sima Yi, but the reason for this is Deng Ai hates Chong Hui, Chong Hui hates Deng Ai, so if I play as either of those factions, I'm not going to be able to hire the other notable officer. And these two officers are characters I simply don't get to play with that often. But there's more than that. There is also Yuan Shao in the southwest. He has absolutely nothing to do with Jin, but much like the Jin officers, you only get to play with Yuan Shao's forces from a position of overwhelming strength in 9 out of 10 scenarios that he features in. So I really want to, see what they're all about. I'm going to be playing this on extreme difficulty, unification of forces on, so going for max difficulty, but this is more of a casual playthrough as I'm not particularly familiar with most of these officers that I'll be using. I think it could be quite fun, and it'll be different from the other videos I've shown in the extent that in the historical scenarios, in most cases, there is a point of the campaign where you have all of Cao Cao's officers, or you have all of Liu Bei's officers, or you have Sun Ce's officers, and you reach a point of overwhelming strength. That won't be present in this campaign because there is no Liu Bei, Guan Yu, Zhang Fei faction that you can pick up quite easily. Liu Bei is here, Zhang Fei is here, Guan Yu is there. Cao Cao belongs in Guan Yu's faction. The Xiaohe brothers and Cao Ren and Cao Hong are over here in the northwest. Wu Bu is in the far northwest. There's no win button in terms of conquering a faction, and I think we have a fairly decent selection of officers, particularly when I've conquered Jin, but they aren't as good as, say, Cao Cao, Cao Ren, Cao Hong, Xiahou Dun, Xiahou Yun, or Liu Bei, Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, Zhao Yun, Zhuge Liang. They will still be a sort of tier below that, so I think this could be quite fun to play. So our faction here. Our force initially is going to be built around Sima Yi. If you've watched some of my other videos, you'll have seen me on occasion use Sima Yi, but he's never been a focal point, as he tends in the earlier scenarios to lack the confidence. You can't really build a force around him without finding him sworn brothers you can create, and even then he ends up feeling like still a step below, say, Guan Yu and Zhuge Liang and Zhao Yun, or Cao Cao and Cao Ren and Xiahou Dun. If you look even here, Sima Yi's confidence, they're all very much second rate. You have Cao Pi and Cao Rui, arguably Zhang He, but I don't think he's particularly good in this game. You haven't got any standout officers. However, what you do have are his family members, primarily Sima Shi. You also have his wife, and I think we can I'll use him and a few of his children here to really buff him up and make him the focal point of our force. I have one particular strategy which will enable us to fight a head-on victory on extreme difficulty, which I very rarely do. Just to have a look at what Sima Yi offers. As a ruler, he has the might doctrine and the pen and sword policy, which is the same policy as Cao Cao, same doctrine as Cao Cao, but Cao Cao has pen and sword level 3, so Cao Cao's is slightly better. He has a tactic which causes AoE disorder, restrained, and it drops the morale of the target, so it's very similar to Zhuge Liang's tactic in that regard. Unlike Zhuge Liang, he has fish formation, so he can be a frontliner and not in the back with Goose. He also has the highest leadership stat in the game, very high intelligence, all around good stats. And further to that, he has the vantage ground trait, which means if you're fighting in territory that belongs to yourself, you get a stat buff, which can be abused for multipliers to make Sima Yi competitive even on extreme difficulty. Dash is also very useful and situationally comes in handy quite often if you need to reach a certain point before the AI gets there. And Voracious simply enhances the potency of your disorder, of your restraint, which complements Sima Yi's main purpose, which is to fire off inscrutable schemes. Other than that, we have Sima Shi, who is Sima Yi's oldest son, I believe. Yeah, first son. So he, again, is a fairly decent military leader. He has a tactic which increases his assault, and he has fish formation, so he can function as a frontliner. Decent intelligence, so he's also a good candidate for teaching disorder to when you have a spare tomb. He has the tactful trait, which lowers the assault of enemy units within certain proximity, I think 2 or 3 ranges of tiles of the units that Sima Shi is deployed in. So that also is very helpful as it mitigates early on the damage you'll be taking in fighting battles. He also has disciplined, which means you can't be affected by disorder, so you're never going to get confused, even if you're in a position where your supplies are cut off. So that in itself is very handy. I don't think Sima Yi even benefits from that. No, so Sima Yi can be confused, but his son Sima Shi can't. We also have Sima Yu, who is another son of Sima Yi, who has the goose formation trait, and Sima Chou, another son with the goose formation trait. These officers can act as backline units, confidants of their father, that will do a little bit of damage, but they'll also multiply Sima Yi's stats. So the plan is to just build as much support for Sima Yi as possible. There are 2 more officers I want to talk about. Hao Chao is the officer that quite famously defeated Zhuge Liang in the siege of Chenkang. He was the defensive officer, and he's one of those characters in the novel that simply beat Zhuge Liang, no mitigating factors. He was simply in a position to beat him in a conventional battle, and that very, very rarely happens. I can't even think of a single instance where someone simply had the upper hand over Sima Yi. Problem is, even though he has a very useful unique trait which increases his defense and lowers enemy assault, he is stuck with the ring formation outside of siege weapons, of course. So he's a good siege weapon unit, high leadership, very potent siege weapon, and he has the full selection, but in terms of fighting other units, he simply isn't going to have that much use. He does have the repressive trait, which is quite handy, and he has decent all-around stats, but if he had fish formation, we'd be looking at him in a completely different light. However, he doesn't, which is unfortunate. Guo Huai, however, is the best version of the defensive trait officers in the game. If you have watched any of my other videos, you'll have seen me use Li Yan quite prominently. Guo Huai is a better version of Li Yan. Higher leadership, higher intelligence, still decent strength, all around good stats. He has the defensive trait, he has mountain warlord, so who can position him on a hill or a mountain, his stats are further multiplied. So his morale doesn't decrease as dramatically if his supplies are cut off. and he takes less damage from traps. But his unique tactic increases his own defense, further multiplying his really high defense, and applies disorder. So he is the ultimate frontline unit. He does have, well, no confidants that we start with that we can make use of, but later on he is a candidate of swearing a brotherhood with that can make him a fundamental part of our force. So he'll see some use earlier on, but I'm hoping once we've expanded a little bit and we've got a stockpile of gold, we'll really be able to make use of him. Opening moves. So this is a scenario where everybody has 30,000 troops, 20,000 gold and 60,000 supplies. So there is a lot of flexibility, yet at the same time there are a lot of threats around you. Everyone, your neighbour, is a potential game-ending enemy. So I want to take this 20,000 gold and use it to secure 3 out of the 4 flanks that I have, so I can concentrate on a single enemy. The choices I see here are allying with Yuan Shao and Deng Ai and moving for Zhonghui, allying with Yuan Shao and Zhonghui and moving against Deng Ai. I don't like either of those options because I think you end up opening up new borders, new boundaries, and it becomes difficult on extreme difficulty when you can't recruit troops as quickly as you can on easier difficulties to defend yourself after you've expanded. So I am going to initially try and take out Yuan Shao. I think he's the easiest first target to fight. I think his officers make a great addition to our administration, and I think having southwestern Jing, it's not impenetrable, but it's very, very easy to use this choke point to defend yourself against a much larger invading force from the south. Setting up our initial administration. There's not a huge amount for us to do this early on. So we're going to promote areas. That's effectively it, really. Fill the slots that we have. But the big moves come with the goodwill. So we are going to take 6,000 gold initially, donate it to Zhonghui. We're going to then take a further 6,000 gold and donate it to, make sure he's our most capable officer. We're going to donate it to Deng Ai. This will bump us up to trusted if all goes well, allowing us to ally these two factions, securing most of our borders. There is the potential of Zhang Ren attacking us, but I think Zhang Ren would likely cross swords with Zhonghui before he's able to make it across our shores, so we should be okay. Other than that, there are plenty of officers to find, some of them useful, some of them not so much, so we're going to spend the rest. No, before we do that, recruitment is very slow initially, so we are going to appoint someone who will be capable as an overseer. Oh, how about you, Guo Huai? Sima Yi? Nope. Chao. Yeah, we'll appoint Hao Chao as our initial overseer. I am going to try and build up these areas to increase our recruitment capability. So, something I've never highlighted in these videos before, domestic development. I am going to appoint traits, or officers as overseers with the cultured traits, as this will increase the population of these areas, which will allow us to recruit more troops in the long term. So, they also tend to be quite good at commercial development as well. So aside from that, last job. We are going to secure these 4 areas. So diplomatic mission number 1 over to Zhonghui, 6,000 gold, we are trusted. I have tested this out a little bit, and at 5,000 gold we don't get trusted, so I'm playing it safe in that regard. So now that we are trusted, I go over to Zhonghui. I want a 12-month alliance, and I'm going to ask for it there. And as we always do when we take a substantial area, we appoint the best conquer land overseer we can, as that officer will fill the area up as efficiently as possible. They'll flip a number of those tiles over to our faction at the greatest amount. It's a very basic element of the game, and if it's not something you're quite familiar with, I would probably recommend not playing on extreme difficulty, because you're opening yourself up for a huge amount of punishment. But now that also we've got some spare turns, I'm going to appoint, say, Sima as the drill master, and I'm going to use the rest of our orders searching. So we'll pick up a few of these no name, not particularly useful officers, apart from Zhongli, who's actually joined us very helpfully. And there's our goodwill with Denai. So as we did with Zhonghui, we will build an alliance with Denai, but we'll make our alliance with Denai 2 years rather than 1, as I think we'll need the extra time to be in a position to threaten him. This officer we've just hired, Zhongli, pretty average stats but 5 positive traits, which is rare. The reason I'm thinking he might come in handy is he has both snake formation and forest warlord, so he may be able to do some surrounding of supply lines and cutting off of officers if Yuan Shao, as he often does, makes a blunder and overextends his supply line, quite fittingly. That is going to actually be my strategy for beating Yuan Shao. I don't know if he's doing so already, but if he extends out to, say, Yang, maybe Lingling, I am going to try and cut him off and inflict a little bit of a blow against him. So the rest of the officers that appear, they're not going to be, I think, particularly helpful to us, but it's always good to have as many officers as you can, even if they're stubbornly refusing to join you at first. So this is what I'm going to keep an eye on initially, because everyone starts with 30,000 troops. Sometimes the AI is very ambitious in their early manoeuvres, and as I have that snake formation officer, I can quite easily move along the forest terrain and cut someone off. Shamoke is another similarly interesting officer where he has snake and forest warlords, but because he's reckless, I just don't ever really want to use him. You don't want to use a reckless snake formation officer because you want to position them specifically in the forests. I mean, if we take after I get this alliance out of the way, if I take a quick look at Shamoke, I think he just joined us, yes. He's got Forest Warlord and Warrior, so he's more likely to do damage to an enemy officer, to inflict a wound if he wins a duel, but he hasn't really got anything else going from. Reckless is no good, Arrow and Snake are so-so, high strength, but he's not more likely to get into a duel, even though he famously killed Gan Ning. He doesn't really have much else going for him, and I think he could have used a more positive trait or two. So we're nearly done hiring. I think we've got maybe one more officer to discover, but nobody of note from what I recall. So we are in a position, I think, where we can look to do some damage to Yuan Shao already. They're only 7,000 troops, but they are low morale. Okay. The whole army's out. Now, we have to be on extreme difficulty very, very, very careful where we choose to fight. Shenyang is not too bad initially, as it only has 2 neighbouring areas, so as you can see, these units aren't particularly strong when compared to, well, even these aren't really that threatening, because they're in the No, they're in the main city region. But the low morale means we can do a fair amount of damage. So you can just quite easily ruin your whole campaign this early on by throwing away troops that takes you far too long to recover. But I think we're going to make some bold moves initially. So we are going to be fighting in the mountains, which means snake formation if we have it. We don't. That's unfortunate. Okay, so we haven't got a huge amount of tools available to us. And we're going to use quite a lot of food doing this. So that's our initial deployment. Our secondary deployment is going to be the Sima family. And we might simply try to fight them in Shenyang, even this earlier on. Highly risky, but at the same time could be highly lucrative if we do a fair amount of damage to Yuan Shao this early on. So let's see what the AI decides to do. So Tian Feng is retreating, which means he has the troops to deploy Yan Liang in narrow formation, which could be very dangerous if he chooses to do so. If he doesn't choose to do so, we have Yuan Shao potentially cut off and surrounded. This could be 12,000 troops worth of damage. There we are, full roster. And okay, he's retreating, but that might be far too late for him. No, not necessarily. But are we in the forest? Yes, okay. He's going to move forward, so I'm going to move these people back. Being as careful as I can, and I'm going to hope that I can cut off Yuan Shang in the process. Okay. A duel? Huh. Who's stronger? Oh wow, he is. Okay, well that's tremendously unexpected, but if I can cut him off, that duel will be entirely irrelevant. There we go. I think... Well, saying that, I wasn't expecting Shen Pei to turn around and flank us. So we're going to lose 1,000 troops. You can move back. You can move back. And you can move forward. That's highly risky because he may very well just choose to turn around. I think we have to go for it anyway. He's dead. No question about that. And I think we just accept that we've lost 1,000 troops, but we've killed 4,000, and if we can come away with this, having done a far more damage than we're going to take, it'll be considered a success. Oof, okay, this is going worse than expected. Not too bad. Okay. Kind of, though. I want to build a camp here. To get everyone to contribute. Apart from you, who's at 19 troops, you were 19 men. And we'll see if we can get Yuan Shao to attack us. No, we've lost. We've lost him. That's unfortunate. But I still think we can win this battle. Especially if he moves in there. I don't think he will. So I want to get 19 men in range of Sima Yi, but not in range that they'll be doing or taking damage. I just want him to be there as a sort of chain tactic potential activation. Make sure we're building up the area in the interim. Okay. We took some damage. Yuan Shao's retreating, but he's going to leave Wen Chou behind. He is only a goose formation officer, so we should be able to... Ah, brilliant, that's exactly what I wanted. Look at that morale hit. He's down to nearly no morale, which really affects his stats. Okay, and we got captured. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Ah, and Yuan Shao is going to be in for quite a bad time. Sima Yi does have dash trait, so I should be able to get around and cut him off. Okay, we might take a little bit. Yeah. Yuan Shao's challenging Sima Yi's wife to do all that solo. So we may lose another 1,000 troops here. I don't know why I didn't see that as a... And she's been captured, so there's 1,000 troops straight away dead. That is very, very annoying. Consider we have 13,000 troops in the field, 3,000 in the city. Not ideal. And someone's been injured. Nope. Our wife. Oh well, and he's dead anyway at least. Especially if I set him on fire. That's bizarre. Just walked back through it and taken it back. Absolutely no harm done to me whatsoever. So we need to be careful because Yan Liang's on his way and he can get in a duel with us. He can do a huge amount of damage. So I need to kill Yuan Shao. And look at that, 1,300 troops just with an inflame. That's the problem with these high strength units. We simply don't have the... Well, we just don't have the officers to go toe to toe with them. Okay. At least we've rescued our wife, and then Sima Yi's gonna retreat on back home. As the AI has been recruiting troops this whole time, I don't think we actually benefited from this overall. I think it was about an even trade where we've lost half of our troops, but so has the AI. Jiang Ren is doing whatever the hell you could call this. A single ring formation officer heading towards our base. Completely beats me, but there you go. He is absolutely of no threat to our city, so I'll just let him do whatever he's going to do. Okay, and of course he's retreating. Not that you can really hold it against him. Our first batch of volunteers have arrived, bringing us back to 18,000 troops. And at this point, if we want to recruit some troops ourselves, we can hire 500 a turn. Not impressive, but it'll contribute somewhat. So to summarise, after our initial battle, Yuan Shao's down to 15,000 troops and we are down to 18,000, so we took a slightly favourable trade, but certainly not the kind of trade we would want to take, as Yuan Shao can recruit, well, effectively twice as many troops as we can, not allowing for volunteers of course, so we are going to have to do better than that. As we do not outscale Yuan Shao in a sense that we take more damage than he does from troops, well, he recruits more. Even if we take a favourable trade, he will still primarily benefit. I am going to try and provoke him into another battle, so this one's slightly more favourable than the one we just fought, and hopefully I can make the use of fortifications and surrounding enemy officers to do more significant damage, shall we say. So Sima Yi is going to go to Chengyang. Guo Huai is going to go to Lingling in snake formation. Hopefully we can make the best of the situation, provoke Yuan Shao out, bring him to, well, tear him into two different directions, make him split his forces, and hopefully we can get a surround or more favourable cut-off that doesn't involve us getting obliterated by Yuan Shao's powerful strength tactics. Okay, Yuan Shao is somewhat taking the bait. Deng Ai is asking to buy my land for free. The question will be, is Yuan Shao coming for Sima Yi or Guo Hua? Hopefully he's going for Sima Yi, but you never quite know with the AI, unfortunately. Now I don't want to be cut off here, so I'm going to play it extra safe. I've got my camp. Don't think I can build traps here. No, I might see if I can get... No, there's no point building an arrow tower there. I'll see if I can provoke them into attacking Sima Yi, because they do have the reckless trait, and if I can fight them on favourable territory. Look at that, 2000 assault, 1900 defence, twice as strong as Sima Yi's unit. Can't stand up to that, but if they're in more favourable terrain, I certainly can. Okay, so it looks like Yuan Shao is making the aggressive move, which is good. Which means I am going to open up, well, set up a fire tower. Sorry, not a fire tower. I'm so short of troops. A arrow tower and Sima Shi and Sima Chou. No, I think I'll go with the wife. As we saw, that chain tactic was very, very potent. Okay, no, he is going for Sima. I am playing with not even fire. Oh, he hands. So they are still very strong, but I need them to come into my territory. So if I move back, or in fact rather, you move there. And build that and that. No, you move there. Okay, I think I can see a plan here. Can I? If fire trap works, it'll confuse Yan Liang in range of the fires, in range of the arrow tower. We've got the research adherence policy. We could do a fair amount of damage, and Sima Yi, very defensive. He can act as a frontliner. Okay, it could potentially be working here. Will they attack after they... So I could move forward here and then dance back and hope the reckless trait makes him chase after me. I don't need to complete the wall. The AI never attacks walls, so I can just build a stub and then it's there forever. And you can build a camp behind us now. Are we safe from Chang Ren? No, we are not. Ooh, very, very scary. I may need to retreat. Okay. You retreat after you've finished with that. No, it didn't work. There we are, that's what I wanted to see. Didn't want to see the 2000 damage from Gale's Tumult. That's called? Yeah, Tumult. Gale's Tumult. Is he on fire? Looks like it. How much time have I got? Okay, no, I'm all okay. I don't need to retreat. If I get caught in a duel, it could all be over. I'm just going to have to hope that doesn't happen. Ah, yes, that's exactly what I wanted to see. This has gone perfectly, though I did lose 4,000 troops. Not perfect, but... Oh, well, how the hell happened to you? Apart from me forgetting. Sima Yu. Certainly go for it. And then let's try and get that barracks up wherever we can to increase the amount of troops we'll be recruiting. And then maybe you can make your way to Changyang. Okay, I think it goes without saying how happy I am with this result so far. Cut him off, cut him off, cut him off. One tile too short. No, I don't want to move the wife in firing range for obvious reasons. Okay, so looking very good. Brilliant. I am very, very, very happy with this result, apart from Guo Huai nearly getting off. That embarrassing incident. But apart from that, that all went brilliantly. So Yuan Shao's down to 7,000 troops. We're going to secure these areas, and I think we're going to now go and build up some further fortifications. So it's looking okay. There's some wounded troops recovering in Lingling, but they don't even have enough where they could deploy and threaten us at this point in an outright battle. We're not strong enough to siege the city down, but... ooh, some gold. So I can buy a little bit of food. Yeah. Good. So I can start building these fortifications up. And this will act as a forwarding base against Yuan Shao, where we will eventually surround him and take the city. So Yuan Shao no longer has any confidence to deploy against us, so we are going to be able to set up as we please. The alliance with Zhonghui ends next month. I think I am going to renew it for a further 12 months. Slightly concerning, but we're basically out of gold, so I'm going to have to start and stop recruiting, stop drilling, and hope that we find plenty of gold, because we've been spending it all on these constructions. Okay, I spoke too soon. Not that this is much of a threat. So what I might be able to do, especially with some volunteers on our way, is carry out some shenanigans regarding traps. They're not going to be able to... ooh, he can move quite quickly. Not Yuan Shao's best. I wonder if we can intercept this at all. No, I think I'll leave it. There we are, he's chasing me. Get out of there, get out of there. Guo Huai, your snake formation retreating in the mountains. There is no way he can keep up with you. In theory. Unfortunately, which doesn't always work out as you would expect in this game. Oh, there we are, they're retreating. Brilliant. They're just going to let me keep the area for 40,000 pops in there, and they simply think, alright, we'll just let him be. So we'll start building this up. Sadly, to have firing platforms you need research terrains level 10, and while I've got level 7, that's all I have access to, so I won't be able to build the firing platforms. But when Guo Huai retreats back into the city, we'll be back up at probably about 21,000 troops. Maybe 22 after the wounded recover, so we'll be able to deploy another army. So after that initial failed battle and then subsequent very successful skirmish, we now outnumber Yuan Shao 2-1. Zhonghui is still going strong. Jiang Ren, I am going to wager, isn't going to try and attack me, so I am going to deploy a fairly large army and I'm going to try and commit a death blow against Yuan Shao. So I don't really have that many troops to play around with still. But I have enough, I hope. So, how am I going to do this? Should be okay. Disorder. Chukonu. Jia. So the backline archers aren't going to fight the city, they're just going to sit within range of the city gates and try and... Oh, before I do that, I almost forgot we're going to be attacking a city, so we'll go in snake formation. But they're just going to be there to try and boost up Sima Yi. I wonder, do they actually link with Sima Shi at all as well? Yeah, they do. Apart from Guo Huai, they all benefit Sima Shi as well as Sima Yi. So it's quite good synergy. So Sima Yi and Sima Shi are going to sort of sit at the outskirts of is it Guiyang? No, Lingling. The archers will sit behind. Is that right? 3 archers. And Guo Huai is going to take the long road and try and secure Xi'an for us. Yuan Shao is sending out Yan Liang in all formation to try and take Shenyang, which is a mistake because they have no combat capabilities and he is throwing away 1,000 troops, which he doesn't have to spare because as of right now his recruitment potential is down to 500, which is less than ours. So at this point we now win the battle of attrition. So for every troop we kill, we can afford to lose 2 of our own and stay even. No, I am not going to sell away my areas. Why would he do that then? Oh, what a waste of a tactic. It never spawns when you want it to, and it then spawns when you don't want it to, but at least I killed those 1,000 troops and only lost 1 man for it. The AI is telling me that Zhang Rang is deploying for me, but I think by the time he gets to me I'll have enough troops to defend against him. And I may very well... Oh, he's not doing anything. I will just build perhaps an arrow tower. And maybe some wire ropes across the fort, so we'll have to take quite a bit of damage coming through to take the area. That should secure me. Naturally what has happened is trying to move through these mountain terrains, tiles have taken such a long amount of time that I have been cut off. Which is annoying, as I do not think I have the means of setting up a music tower. So Guo Huai is now very weak because of the morale he's lost from getting cut off trying to take this one area. It happens. The AI is telling me Zhang Ren is on his way, but it sure looks to me like he's heading towards Jianling. Either way, I've set up this little fortification where if Zhang Ren wants to come take the port, he's going to take a tremendous amount of arrow damage by the time he's done, which means we'll need only a minimal force to defend the city. Other than that, Guohuai's retreated to safety, and we are nearly ready to assault the city. If I could bait him out to attacking me, that would be fantastic, but it's not looking like that's going to happen. And I think I'll just, in which case, complete the surround, doing it very carefully in order to try and minimise the chance of the same thing happening again where I get cut off. As Volunteers has fired again, I'm considering sending a siege weapon when my morale is back up. So I've got plenty of food-ish. I can continue this on this very slow siege, and I'm taking it very, very slow because I've seen how these things go. Liang and Wen Chou deploy out of the city. They have 2,000 assault each, and they completely melt my units. They fire off chain tactics. They carry out duels. My army evaporates. So I won't be letting that happening again. And that's say first, ruling has developed. And while we're talking about the development of the city, these two areas have increased in population by a significant chunk. This has gone from 27,000 to 35. This has gone from I think about 22 to 29. Maybe it was 23. Either way, substantial benefits to the city. I know this includes some of the areas I've taken, but I'm now recruiting 1,000 troops a turn, generating a huge amount of gold and food. I can afford to keep my armies out in the field. And why don't we send out a siege weapon then, just as a added precaution. You can never really go wrong with a ram. And I'm just slowly moving the army forward. Is it going to happen again? No, this time I was not cut off. And if I can make it to Lingdao, I will have made it without getting my supplies cut off twice, which is very, very nice. And we are very nearly ready to take the city. Yuan Shao has nearly no recruitment remaining, and I am in a very comfortable position. Okay, here we come. Here's the threat I was worrying about. And because we've secured the areas, even though they're still very strong, they're not as strong as they would be, but we'll still take quite a bit of damage here. It's not guaranteed we'll win this battle. Okay, our tactic fires off first. That is brilliant. And without Liang, Wen Chou is nothing. So we have not won yet, but we are on the cusp of victory, taking our first city, and it wasn't too bad. We even fought some direct face-to-face battles on extreme difficulty without cheesing the AI and waiting for them to be distracted by being attacked by a rival force. We fought an honest fight and won, nearly, as long as Wen Chou doesn't pull off anything unexpected here. Deng Ai undoubtedly wants my only port. Well, oh, no, okay, it looks like I'm moving into firing range of the city prematurely. Guess we're moving everyone in full speed ahead. So we're taking a fair amount of damage here, but once it starts to be spread out amongst the three, it'll be more manageable. And in 2 more turns I'll have the siege weapon at the city. And look at that, Deng Ai has come to try and snipe the city from me. We're not going to let that happen. Potentially. Oh, I hope we're not going to let that happen. Nothing's impossible. But the city's confused now, so I can even get my archers into range. We took a huge amount of damage from city counterattack damage, but I think with the ram there, it'll fall in probably one turn. Okay. Deng Ai encroaching on my territory, I don't like that very much. But we are doing very good damage to this city. We didn't actually need the siege weapon, it turns out. That's always the case, because Yuan Shao deployed against us. Now, before we do the finishing blow, is there anyone out in the field? Mission. So they should all be in the city. There we are. Welcome aboard, everyone who will join us. 9 of them out of 20, not terrible. Including Yuan Shao. Very good. And then Deng Ai's going to have to turn away in defeat. Zhonghui, still not going to give you my port. And this should be a promotion for me, I believe. Yes. Which will be good because I've got a fair new selection of generals who will need, well, rewarding, hiring. So we've got Liang, Wen Chou, Tianfeng. So I'm just going to try and hire everyone I can. And I will cut back in a few turns to round up the changes to our administration. Having hired everyone apart from the very stubborn Shen Pei, we now have the potential for battle policy strengthened fish level 5. We also have the option of getting arrow to level 10 if we unlock one more slot, which would certainly be possible by teaching all of our officers new tactics that we've learned. I could do that in between episodes probably. So we have the option of having very strong cavalry, arrow formation level 10, or fish formation level 5. With the addition of Yuan Shao and, is that Zhu Shuo? Yeah, Zhu Shuo. We have increased morale level 10. And we have a new, more capable strategist at that. So Pen and Sword and reorganize. Pen and Sword level 5. They boost the policy of all. They boost the strength of all support policies to level 5, and then reorganized military level 5 boosts that to 10. I mean, potentially we could even do this, and that would clear up level 5, so that would then enable us to say, for example, cut our consumption down, which I think is, yeah, more optimal. So we're having a slightly worse strategist, and if it's under 100 intelligence, all the strategists are bad anyway, and this gives us the maximum reduced consumption of supply, the maximum level of city morale, which is 130, and then we can even go back in and say a little bit of reform expenditure here. And of course, if we go into battle, then I will take away promote areas and reform expenditure and add back in maybe another arrow policy or siege weapon policy, even potentially ring, depending on who we use. We also, in terms of our diplomacy, have our alliances ending with Zhonghui and Deng Ai in a month or two. So, well, I think probably at the start of next turn the alliance with Zhonghui will end. So we may want to consider trying to renew with Zhonghui, unless we assume Zhang Ren's going to keep him very busy. That's a challenge for the start of the next episode. Other than that, I'm hoping we'll be able to show off the capability of Yuan Shao, Liang and Wen Chou, maybe against Deng Ai, who now outnumbers us quite considerably. He's been sat there building up We're down to 25,000 troops, even though we started the video with 30, so we've lost troops. I think we'll probably have to get to recruiting as quickly as possible, even allowing for our gold shortage. I mean, that's another problem. We have 3,000 gold between our two cities and 80,000 supplies, so we're both poor and relatively starved. So we're going to have to probably fight a very few closely contested defensive battles, but I think that's part of the fun. So I hope this has been an enjoyable episode of part 1 of the series. I had a lot of fun playing this, and come part 2, I hope we can bring the fight to Dengai. Take care.